Lynda Sunshine West is a 6 times best-selling author, a speaker, a red carpet interviewer, a founder of Women Action Takers. And her favorite quote is, "Nothing happens without action." Well, she sure takes action in a big way. Her brand new book, which is soon to be released, is called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And today on the show, we are interviewing Cathy Derkson, who's one of the contributing authors in this amazing upcoming book. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Cathy Derkson. Almost 3 billion people and counting are consuming video content on their devices. BeLive Media helps brands position their products and services to people at a time and manner that's convenient to them. If you would like to reach your customers and clients and stay ahead of your competitors, then connect with us. If you are just joining us, then welcome to Books with Brigetti. I am your host, Brigetti Limbanda from Cape Town in South Africa, and this stream is made possible by StreamYard and BeLive Media. A special warm welcome to you, the viewers, if you're watching us on Amazon Live, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn. This is an audience-centric show. So do know that I am monitoring the comments. Say hello. If you want to pop us a question, please feel free to do so. If this is your first time that you are watching the show, you are welcome to type new in the comments and then I can give you a shout out. So my guest today is Cathy Derkson. She is the founder of the Inspired Tenacity. She supports women to reignite their life through confidence in financial knowledge and the inspiration and tenacity to create a life that they love. So Cathy has been a professional financial planner for over a decade, and she left her job to focus her energy and provide resources and support for women. And this is Women's Month, so it's a great time to have her on the show and to celebrate what she does. Cathy is a 4-time best-selling author of stories that inspire readers to take a leap of faith to reach their goals. She's a contributing author to the brand new book by Lynda Sunshine West, and it's called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. I think there are so many women out there who can relate to this. But let's not waste any more time. I want to bring on Cathy and introduce her to you. So with that, let's invite her on screen, shall we? Cathy, a very, very warm welcome. I'm so glad that you're able to join me today.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's a great honor.
It's an absolute pleasure. You know, I love that you have stepped out to help other women, because so many of us, and especially now at this time, we live in a time of uncertainty. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people people just don't know what the next steps are, and sometimes we can become completely stuck. And when I was reading through your bio and what you do, that you help women with financial planning, I think that is probably one of the most areas in which a lot of people, and especially women, become unstuck. Because for a long time, traditionally, women rely on their husbands to provide for them. And I know, I think it's just last week, I had a lady on the show who suddenly, and this is just what happens with the pandemic, who suddenly, unexpectedly lost her husband to
Oh,
COVID, and she's got three children to care for,
oh no.
and she's done a complete pivot from what she was in the beauty industry for many, many, many years, and she's now pivoted into starting a price distribution, completely different from what she had done. Very out of her
Wow.
comfort zone, doing the finances, bookkeeping, and the whole shebang. And I was thinking, you help women like that. So tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got into doing what you do now.
Mhm. Yes, yes. So, well, my journey's had a few twists and pivots and things along the
Iterations.
way too. And yeah, so actually, I spent 25 years working in medical genetics. So I
Oh,
actually spent
wow.
25 years mainly in hospital labs and public education, but focused on genetics. And then I came to a time in my life when I was going through big change and had to make some big decisions and really think about, is what I'm doing right now something I can see myself doing for the next 20 years? I was in the middle of going through a divorce. I was suddenly on my own with two teenagers and so I really had to stop and think, okay, is the job and the career I have now where I really want to be or not? And that's when I really did a lot of that kind of inner searching and just really discovered that I needed something that was more people based and feeling like I was actually really helping people directly. And that's when I actually started into my career as a financial planner because, like you said, there were so many women that were going through big changes but didn't have the resources and the understanding from a
Mm,
financial point of view to really make those big changes, whether it was divorce or loss of a spouse or just going through a career change. Because a lot of women feel stuck in where they are because they don't feel like they've got the resources and the understanding financially. So that's what set me on the path with financial planning, to really focus on helping women get that understanding. But after 10 years of doing that and mainly working in corporate type positions, I realized that I was giving some information and I was helping in some ways, but not having the big impact that I really wanted to have on people's lives, especially on women's lives. And that's
mm,
when I'm and really coming to the realization that when it comes to finances, sometimes it's not just the tools and the information that are really going to change your situation. And really discovering that so much of where we're at and what we're doing and our results is so much based on our mindset. The
mm,
stories we're telling ourselves about money and about success and about who we are. And so that's when I really decided that I need to take that next leap. And it was more than just a pivot, it was a leap. And just decide to, like you mentioned, leave my corporate job, leave that whole kind of set financial planning structure and set out on my own process where I can both help them with that understanding, but then help them also with that mindset and those other tools that are actually very critical to making any change. So that's what I'm doing more in my Inspired Tenacity business, is that I am helping women to recognize both the stories that they tell themselves that are holding them back, but that to also really do that inner reflection and that inner discovery and really decide, okay, is where I'm at right now, is this where I want to be right now? Because again, so many of us, in our 40s, 50s, I focus mainly on women 50 and up, because so many of us are at that time in our life when we're really reflecting on that. Like, am I doing what really makes my heart sing? Am
Mm.
I doing something that I'm excited to do in the morning? I get up and get going, or do I just feel like I'm going through day to day to day to day?
Motions.
And I describe it quite often as banging your head against the wall with whether it's a job that you're really frustrated with, or a career or a relationship, or just life in general. We get stuck in those go 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 day, but it's like, why am I here? So that's where I'm really focusing now, is helping. I mean, finances is intertwined with everything in life, but focusing even more on helping women to really make a change in their life that will create living a life they actually love to live, and allows them to contribute to the world in a way that they really feel satisfied and driven to do. So
Yeah.
yes, it's been a few leaps and a few pivots and a few, but I'm loving where I'm at now.
But it's all good, I mean, I've really, I think, sort of when you turn 50, it really is a pivotal time in a woman's life,
Oh,
when
definitely.
I don't know what it is. I have no explanation, but I've heard many other women voice the same thing. There's just something about turning 50 and feeling that you've stepped into your own. I think you've kind of done that. You no longer want to, you no longer feel that. I'm speaking for myself. I no longer felt the need to explain myself to anyone. I no longer
Yes.
felt the need to prove myself to anyone.
Right. Yeah.
I had done the child raising, that was done and dusted behind me. And I felt that it was just a time in my life where I now wanted to do things that made me happy.
Exactly. Exactly. And so many, as we have those life experiences, we have those skills, and we have there's so much wisdom and experience that we're holding, and it really is a shame for us to just keep doing little things and not really share that with the world. And like you say, there's just that inner calling or drive to do something bigger at some
Yeah.
point. And I like to also remind people as well, when you think back 40 years, our life expectancy was really only 65 to
Oh,
70.
you're reading my mind. You are
Yeah.
absolutely reading my mind. I wanted to go there, but go
Yeah.
ahead, go
Well,
ahead.
exactly. And I mean, as a financial planner, we encourage people to plan to be here into their 90s. So if you think about
Right.
it, okay, you're going to retire, going by the old way, in your 60s. Well, what are you going to do for the next 30 years? We're not talking about golfing and gardening and watching TV. Like,
And
there's
you
it's
need to put
time
food
to
on the
do
table,
something
right?
big. What's that?
You need to put food on the table, and you want to
Well,
live, because
exactly. And even if you've got a good pension that's paying the bills and you don't need to worry about the money, I think we all need a reason to get out of bed in the morning. We all need a reason to be here, something we're contributing, something that we're doing, something that excites us. So, I mean, golfing, I'm sure for some people, maybe that is exciting every day, all day, and gardening. But again, think about it. What are you going to do till you're 90?
but also the truth of the matter is that most pension funds, if you have one, because a lot of women don't,
No.
if you don't have a pension fund, what are you going to do until you're 90?
Well, that's
You
a
know,
very
how
good
how are you
point.
going to
Yes.
live?
Yeah. Hmm.
And you want to live reasonably, comfortably,
Yes. Well,
and
exactly.
everything costs
Yeah.
money, you
More
know.
and more.
And if you lose your spouse, what are you going to do? So
Yes.
you need to have a plan of some sorts in place. And if you can find something
Mhm.
that you
Yeah.
love that also generates income, why not?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's one of the things too that I mean, both also when I went into financial planning to start with, but even so more now, that I went into it with the mindset that this is something I can do into my 80s
Hmm.
or longer. Right. Is I can, if I need to back off with health reasons or things like that, I can work less, but it's the type of work I can keep doing as long as I want to. So yes, it's not one that it requires a retirement at a certain age or anything like that. So that's a really key focus on what I'm working on now, is really helping women. And like you say, so many of us, we raise We had our kids, we had our marriage, we had our careers. And so much of that was focused on somebody else, making sure our kids were well and educated, and making sure our spouse was happy and looked after. And even in our careers, quite often in a job, you're looking out for your bosses or your employer's best interest. And so most of us, a lot of us, and myself, I will speak for, have put ourselves on the back burner while we're looking after everybody else. So,
And what I like about what we can do, what I do, what you do, is that we don't need an office. I mean, apart from
no.
COVID, it's something we can do from home.
Yeah.
You can make yourself comfortable. And I do want to say to people, you know, everyone's working from home. Get yourself a decent chair that supports you, because there's
Yes.
nothing worse than trying to work and you're sitting on a dining room chair.
Oh, exactly.
Don't
Yes.
do that. It's so bad for you. I live with chronic pain, and so I'm very conscious about um, sitting correctly, being
Good
at the
point.
right height, being
Yes.
comfortable when you work, because you don't want to start doing books or whatever it is you do, and before you know it, you've got this terrible back and neck pain. So
Oh, yes.
invest in a good office chair. You're not going to take your dining. I always try and tell people, you're not going to take your dining room chair to the office. You don't do that.
Yes.
So if you're bringing your office into your home, invest in something that's also going to be good for your health, because you can't do
Yes.
anything if you don't invest in your health. Be comfortable. Sit on a great, find yourself, if you, I don't know, I'm just big on investing in a decent office chair that supports you, so that you can be, because if you're in pain, if your body's in pain, you're not going to enjoy whatever it is you're doing.
No, that's true. And I think it all comes back around as well to us not always focusing on our needs and our comfort or our well-being in general. So whether it's the chair, whether it's our diet, whether it's exercise, whether it's just our, time on our own doing what we love, those little things that we often tend to just sort of push aside, like you say with the chair. Okay, my back hurts right now, but I'll just keep doing this. I'm not going to bother looking. Well, we tend to just ignore our own pain as long as we can. Whereas, yes, doing those things like that to look after things before they become a problem can completely change our lives in so many ways. So,
Oh, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So how did you meet? We both have got a chapter in this amazing book by Lynda Sunshine West. How did you meet Lynda?
I actually met her through some other connections when I was just kind of getting started with this whole idea of getting my own business going and going on the more virtual business life. And so one of my friends started connecting me with people that she thought would be very good connections for me to get out there and meet people. I live in Canada. I'm on the west coast of Canada, which I love it up here. But of course, we're a relatively small population. So I knew that reaching out to more of an international crowd was definitely where I needed to go and where I wanted to go. So my friend had quite a few connections, especially around in the States and over to Europe and the UK. So she was really helpful in connecting me with some people. So yes, that's where I met Lynda. And through Lynda, I've met so many more people
Oh,
that have
Lynda's a
just completely
great
changed
connector.
my life. That's yes. Yeah. No, like you said, I mean, with the women action takers and with her motto about, nothing happens without action, she has changed lives, so many lives. And especially when you look at that ripple effect that you
Yeah.
have on people's lives and other people's lives. And like with the mission with my company, my Inspired Tenacity, my mission is to actually create a cycle of wealth and success among women around the world. And how I see that too is that ripple effect. So I help the people that are in my community, but knowing that most women, as they feel that they've been raised, they reach out and they help other women and other people in their community. So it becomes that ripple effect that I'm helping these people, they're helping those people, and just our international ripple of lifting the world is is what I love about this kind of work that we're doing together.
I know, I absolutely love the opportunity that has been opened up. I mean, I've been live streaming myself now for about 7 years, six,
Oh,
seven
wow.
years.
Okay.
And I really love the fact, I mean, there's a lot of things about the pandemic that have challenged us
Mm-hmm.
in various ways, and many people have had to pivot. But one of the things that I have loved about what the pandemic has done for us is that it's opened up opportunities for us to do business on a global scale. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
a lot of people who had this anti-online thing going um, were forced to change their mindset about
Mm-hmm.
working online.
Yes.
And we now have the opportunity, as you rightly said, to engage with people on a global scale. So you
Yeah.
literally have been
Exactly.
given the ticket to not only do business locally, but you can do business anywhere where people are connected to the internet. And that is just phenomenal.
Yes. And it really is a small world. And that's one of the things that's really amazed me with this whole process of meeting people and reaching out further is how similar we all are. You know, when you live a
Yeah.
life that's kind of small and local, you always get the feeling that it's different somewhere else. Whereas when we really get to know each other, you know, people from around the world, we realize that really we're, you know, our environment that we're in might be a bit different, but the people and what they want to do and kind of that inner longing to be of service and to help each other, I find that it's everywhere that I look.
Right. Someone's coined the phrase glocal,
Oh, I like that. Global.
because we're just one global family now. And as you said,
That's
I've
true.
one of the things I've enjoyed about live streaming also is the fact that the more people you talk to, you realize that no matter where people are, we have similar challenges in
Hmm.
life. We go through the same changes in life, irrespective of where we are. And as we doing now, I always try and encourage people. We our lives are online, and everyone is doing Zoom meetings. Switch your camera on, people, because
Yes.
we want to connect. We miss that human to human connection that we can't
Yes.
have now to remain safe. But switch your camera on. Make sure your camera is in focus.
Yes.
And if you're
Yes.
doing
That's a good
business,
point.
if you're
Yeah.
doing if you're doing business, if you're a business person, if you can invest in a decent webcam, it doesn't have to be a DSLR. If you can afford one, go for it. But
Yes.
if you can't afford a DSLR, at least invest in a webcam, because this is your business. It's a business investment. You want to talk
Yeah.
to people like this. This to me is as good as it gets. It's a face-to-face conversation. To me, it feels like we're sitting at the table,
Oh,
around a table,
exactly.
having a cup of
Exactly.
coffee.
Yes.
It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that funny enough, that was one of the other things that Linda's actually helped me with. That I was thinking for a while that I had to get upgrade my camera because my picture was very blurry and it just wasn't good. And then
Sometimes it's just a tweak
well,
that
the
you need
funny
to.
thing is, after a while of this, Linda says, "Oh, have you cleaned your camera lately?" And that's all it was. It's like, hey, you don't think about that, right?
That's
It was a new
hilarious.
computer. You think so? Yeah. So Linda has helped in a lot of ways.
She does, and she's also a very practical person.
Oh yes.
And I like how forthright she is. She'll say to you, well, that doesn't work, go, do this.
Yep. Yep.
um and it's one of the reasons that I have loved working with Lynda, because she shoots straight from the hip. and
That's
um
true.
and I think that's also the nice part of being at this phase in our lives, is that we're I think we're more honest with each other.
Oh, definitely. Yes. No, no BS. Just the way it is. And yes, one of the other little things I love about Linda too is that she's brave in trying new things all the time. So especially with tech support, tech is one of my worst things that I'd like to leave tech to other people, but with her, you ask her a question, and if it's something that she's not quite sure about, she'll just go try this and try that, and she'll figure it
she'll
out.
find someone. She'll find someone to
Exactly.
connect you with that knows the
Exactly.
answer. And I
Yeah.
want to just give a huge shout out to Bob, who's watching us on Amazon Live.
Hi, Bob.
Bob is a great friend, Bob Tomlin. And so um, so yes, I think it's wonderful to be able to connect with people from around the globe. And Lynda is probably one of the best connectors. If she doesn't know the
Yes.
answer to something, she'll say, "But I know so and so,"
Yeah.
and you can be sure to get a message from her. I
Oh,
want to just
yes.
segue and
Yeah.
talk quickly about your chapter in the book.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your chapter
Hmm.
in the book.
So my chapter is called "Peekaboo, I Don't See You." So, I mean, a lot of us, when we were little or when we've had children with us, we played the game Peekaboo, or you're just Peekaboo. And of course, kids love that. And so with the little ones, it's almost like they feel like you've disappeared while you're
Yes,
covered and then you've reappeared. So I sort of describing, my chapter describes times in my life where I kind of felt like I was going through that process of disappearing and then reappearing and disappearing. And, so much of it in the chapter, I describe how when I was a child, we moved a lot.
yeah,
So, starting over in different communities in different places, in very different places around North America. And so I really got used to kind of that. Now I'm new. Now I get used to it. Now I'm somewhere different. Now I'm new. And so it really was a lot of that. And quite often I found anyways that being the new kid in different places, there was always some bully somewhere that was looking for that new kid to kind of take control of. Or so that was one of my experiences with moving, was that there tended to be at least one bully looking for that new kid. So when you're kind of that target, you tend to almost try to be invisible so that they don't kind of set their
just kind
sights
of blend
on
into the
you.
background almost.
Exactly. So part of my chapter talks a little bit about that in my childhood, but then more into my adult life. The reason I got divorced was that my husband became quite emotionally abusive and abusive with myself and with my kids. And so I had kind of realized I was falling into a depression, and just kind of, you don't want to leave a marriage, that idea, oh, I'm married, I need to stick with this, but again, kind of finding myself disappearing into, as a way of protecting myself. So so
I
my
can
my
relate.
so my chapter goes through a few times in my life like that, where I did go through those phases of being visible and invisible and visible and invisible, and that sort of thing. So that's, I not even can't even think of where that idea of using the peekaboo as my kind of framework of my story started, but it seemed to fit quite well, as I realized that there was a few times in my life that I would appear and disappear and appear and disappear. And again, sort of coming back to my business, I think that's a huge reason why I want to really do this with women and really help them to discover their brilliance and to have that trust and confidence and take that leap of faith to jump into a life that actually excites them. Because I feel that so many of us have disappeared. We've really lost our identity. We've
Mm.
lost just our own, like, who am I? What do I like? I actually remember one day I was thinking about it when my kids were, I guess, maybe like 6 or 7 years old. So you're relatively small and still taking a lot of your time. But I remember thinking, I don't even remember what I like to eat.
Kathy,
you know,
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I relate to so much of what you're saying.
exactly.
I remember how that, when the kids were growing up, you cook food that your children like. So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
go to restaurants that are child friendly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you get used to that. And the biggest aha moment for me, I got so used to rushing through my food when the kids were growing up,
Yes, yes.
that I never really sat down to enjoy, because there was always
Yeah,
something to do, to tend to the children. And when they
Exactly.
finally grew up, one day I was, gobbling up my food. I thought, why did I do that? I really had no reason to rush through my meal.
It's
But
just a
that was kind
habit.
of like the aha
Yeah.
moment for me when I
Yeah.
realized I can actually slow down and I can actually
And
start
sit
cooking.
down.
I can sit down, enjoy my food. I can now taste the food, not just kind of
Exactly.
like I need to eat quickly before the next thing that I need to do, you
Exactly.
know.
And
And
yes.
and you also chose the friends. You had
Yes.
friends
Yes.
that were the parents of
Yep.
your children's friends.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, you did a
Yes. Yeah.
lot of stuff that was, or you were entertaining your husband's colleagues or business people, so you were
Yeah.
doing a lot of that. It was never about you. And now at this phase in your life, you can finally choose your friends, choose what you want to eat, where you want to eat, who you want to eat with.
Yes. Yes.
It's those little things.
Exactly. And and again, I feel that so many of us are still caught in that habit. Like you say, even when you don't need to be behaving like that or sticking in that, but we do because we just are so used to it. Whereas getting that kind of reminder and that kind of poke from somebody else saying, hey, is this what you want to be doing? Or hey, let's go do something else. Or hey, what do you want for dinner tonight?
Absolutely. Just something that you enjoy, and to be selfish for a change.
Exactly.
And
And
and to be okay with that. To be okay with being selfish
to actually
and
think
putting
about
yourself first,
ourselves.
because
Yes.
if you think about it, this is the way I reason. I don't know about you, but this is the way I reason. If I take care of myself, and if I'm happy, I can help the people around me be happy too.
Well, exactly. And yes, when you think about it, when you're tired or depressed or just not feeling well, then what have you got to actually share with other people? And besides going through the motions of looking after things that need to get done, there's so much more we can bring to relationships and bring to our situation when we are feeling energized and feeling well and feeling like we're respected. That yes, our lives and the lives of the people around us are so different when we look after ourselves. So true.
Absolutely. So when you work with women, like typically, what kind of women do you look for or work with?
Mainly women that are in a job situation right now. So I find that a lot of entrepreneurs, they're kind of already sort of started on something that they feel inspired about and have started on some new project kind of idea. Whereas I find that so many women that are in jobs tend to be the ones that are stuck, that are in, still doing that job just because it pays the bills or because it does have a savings plan or because it's got, dental plan. So they're tend to be more the ones that are really just dug into a life that they hate.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've been focusing lately, is so a lot of women that are either working in the healthcare or working in a professional setting. So ones like that have been doing the same job for 20, 30 years and just know they need something different. So, but of course, all women that are feeling that stuck feeling and feeling like and like I said, 50 and over, I find tends to be that group of women that are in that next chapter of our lives and really feeling there's that need to make a big change. So that's the main focus of the work I'm doing right now.
And so when you say that you teach women about financial freedom, what exactly is it that you help them with?
Well, so I focus most of our time on more thinking and really digging in to finding those things that inspire and motivate us. Because again, thinking back to being in a career or being in a position or being in a life when we're just not happy and we're just going through the motions, that we tend to be underpaid for where we should be. We tend to not be doing the things that would get us ahead. So yes, we do talk about savings and that sort of thing. But again, I find so much of actually getting to success and our goals and where we want to be comes back to those things of how do you feel about yourself? Do you feel
Mm,
like, oh, I'm always broke. There's never enough. I can't do this. I have to stay where, those thoughts and those kind of those limiting beliefs in our head tend to really be the things that hold us back, both financially and from other types of success. So most of our time and energy is actually focused on that side of wealth and success. And just how do I look at my life differently so I can create different results? And so it's kind of a twist in a lot of ways on how people think about financial well-being and success, is that we've always been taught that, oh, just save more or invest differently, and I mean, those are tools that, yes, are there and are very useful. But I just find so often over and over that even with those tools, if you still have the idea in your head that you're always broke and that you just can't get ahead, then you will always be broke and you won't get ahead. So so much of our efforts and energy is really focused on discovering what our brilliance is as an individual, focusing on where can I apply my energy and time that makes me feel energized and inspired? Because when we get in that mindset, we tend to either go into positions in our job that do pay us better or that do have better benefits that help us, or we go off into another career path that lifts us higher in a financial setting. So all of those things are so intertwined that I find that they're critical to that conversation about financial success and success in general, and what that means to you as an individual. Because again, success, I'm not talking about, okay, what are the check marks of, what have you accomplished? I'm talking about creating a life that you feel you're where you want to be, you're doing what you want to do, you're feeling that you are making progress in the direction that you chose. So it's not
mm,
about check marks, it's not about more degrees, it's not about all these other kind of things. It's about how you feel about where you want to be. And are you excited to get up in the morning? Are you excited to share what you've been doing? Are you excited to just move on to that next thing and that next project, and what's next for you? And that's one of my taglines, is to bring life to your life. Because again, so many of us are stuck in that kind of day to day, just doing life, but we don't really feel alive.
that's true. It's so easy to get stuck in just doing things routinely. And
Exactly.
so you really just want to take a breath and say, where am I at? Am I really leading my best purposeful life?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
am I happy doing what I'm doing, or am I simply just going through the motions? um, and just sort of take a moment to just breathe and think, can I do something differently? And sometimes it's not big changes. Sometimes it's little changes and tweaks that can make a
Well,
huge
exactly.
difference.
Exactly. And even with, if it's someone's career that they're feeling kind of stuck in, even just helping them look back at what was it you actually liked about that career 20 years ago. What were the parts of it that inspired you before? And sometimes just by reminding ourselves or refocusing that we can actually rediscover that and reignite what we liked about what we were doing before.
And isn't it amazing how, everything starts with a conversation? And that is
Exactly.
why conversations are good. As human beings, we want to talk to each other. And sometimes we hold back, especially as women, if we have that internal messaging that you don't have an opinion or your opinion isn't valuable. If you grew up with that
Right.
kind of internal
Yes.
messaging, a lot of women struggle with that. But the more we talk to each other and the more we are honest with each other, we realize that we are not dissimilar from other people. And it's great to get validation, from sharing
Oh,
and
exactly.
realizing, I'm not the only one, because so many of us, because we don't share, we often suffer in silence for years, and we
Oh,
think,
definitely.
I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And it's like an aha moment when you hear someone else's, but me too.
Yes.
And then you realize, well, why don't we do it differently?
Yes. Well, exactly. And I find too that quite often women tend to, I guess it's a worthiness thing. I feel like, oh well, I don't want to waste your time on my problems, or I won't go ask for help because I'll just do this myself because everybody else is too busy, or I should be able to just do this myself. And we're not allowing ourselves to actually receive that help from other people, or to share and receive just that help and that support, and that those just stirring up those things that could bring up new ideas and new connections. So that's the other side that I find quite often, that just it's an allowing and receiving process that women have to open up to.
Absolutely. Cathy, it was wonderful chatting to you.
Well,
And
thank you for having me. It's been great.
so if you're watching this, or you know someone that want to step out into their greatness and just learn to be a bit more confident, or to need some help with changing the internal dialogue, or reach out and connect. And I am very excited. I'm really looking forward to this book by Lynda called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore by Lynda Sunshine West. It's a collection of stories by amazing women out there. So if you were one of those people that are still feeling invisible, and you want to learn to step out into your greatness, do look out for this book. It's going to be on bookshelves. I don't have a date yet, but I would imagine within the next 2 months, roughly,
Yes.
um, is when it will be on bookshelves. But in the meantime, we are, I've spoken to a number of men and women. It's not just women, by the way. There are men and women in the book. Um, Stories about people who have stepped out of their comfort zone and have learned how to step into their own. So do look out for that book. Cathy, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I look forward to staying connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thanks for watching, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and until next time, we'll see you again. Bye for now.